Good morning, friends. Happy Saturday. So, I am doing a new recipe this morning. I haven't tried this one before, so I'm excited to try this. One of my hubby's favorite things to eat is shepherd's pie, especially in the fall. There's nothing better than that thick, rich stew meat at the bottom with mashed potatoes and all the veggies. So this is a different recipe. Traditional shepherd's pie is made with ground lamb, or if you're not a lamb person like me, then you use ground beef. I found this interesting recipe that uses roast. So when it's just the two of us, I can cook a whole roast and we can eat on it for 4 days, which kind of gets a little boring after a little while. So I found this recipe and I thought, what a great idea. So I used half of the roast earlier this week to do French dip sandwiches, which were fantastic. And then I used the other half of it that I've had in my refrigerator. I'm going to cut that up into chunks. We're going to put that in the crock pot and it's going to cook all day. And then we're going to put mashed potatoes on top, let it cook for the last half hour with the potatoes, and everything will just kind of meld together. So I want to show you what I've got going here. I've got some mushrooms. Let me tell you a thing about mushrooms. Mushrooms are full of water. So the last thing you want to do with these things is rinse them in water because they're just going to absorb like a sponge. So what you want to do is take just a really damp paper towel and just kind of go through and just give it a really light wipe just to get a little bit of the dirt off. Most mushrooms that are sold in the grocery stores are just a domestic mushroom, locally grown. So they're not out in the wild where they're grown in stuff that can be harmful to you. So you just want to make sure you just give them a really quick wipe. We're going to just trim the ends off really quick. The ends are usually a little bit tough, a little bit dry sometimes, so we don't want that. So we're just going to trim off the ends really quick. And then we're just going to give these a really quick slice. They're going to cook down, so you don't want to make the slices too small. You want to go about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thick, so that you don't end up with just soggy mushrooms with no texture in your shepherd's pie. So I'm going to cut this last one up really quick. All right, so our mushrooms are in there. I actually did some ahead of time. I didn't think you needed to see me do the whole thing. So there are mushrooms. I'll show you this in a second. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut up an onion. I have to tell you about this thing. I love this. This is my chopper. I love this thing. It's amazing. You're able to just give it a couple chops like that, and you've got perfect chopped onions ready for whatever you want to put them in. So we're just going to drop these in here. And this chopper is fantastic for carrots as well. So even big thick ones like this. Look at that. Perfect diced carrots. And you didn't have to stand at the counter forever chopping them. So we're just going to dump these right in here. We've got some garlic. I love garlic, so does my hubby. So we're going to put quite a bit of garlic in. I actually like to use a little more garlic than the recipes call for. They call for 3 cloves. I'm actually going to use a little bit extra. And I'm using my favorite garlic press, my Pampered Chef one. I love this thing. You don't even have to peel the garlic. Just pop it right in your garlic press. Squeeze it. And then the skin just comes right out, and toss it in the garbage. Let's do the last couple here. Get these done real quick. Okay. Other thing I love about this, it has this little tool. You can use this to scrape off so you don't waste any of that garlic that's in there. And then when you get ready to clean your garlic press, when you're ready to wash it, I don't recommend putting it in the dishwasher. They say you can, but I don't like to. So you just take your little brush. You can insert it right there in the holes when you're washing it, and you'll be able to get everything out. All right, so we have our carrots, we have our mushrooms, we have our onion, we've got some pot roast right here. I've already diced up a little bit of it, so we're gonna just dice up the rest of it. Just real quick, we're gonna cut this into strips, and then we're just gonna dice it really quick. So because this is a roast, it's a chuck roast, those work really, really, really well in a crock pot, because it's a slow cooking process, and it just really allows you the ability to cook this meat really slow, and it allows it to really break down the tissues in it. So even though these are a little bit bigger chunks than you would want to probably put in your mouth and eat, it's fine, because if you cut it too small, you're going to wind up with a really, really, really soft almost mushy type meat, and you don't want that in your shepherd's pie. So let me rinse my hands real quick. Always make sure we're not cross-contaminating when we're dealing with raw meat. All right, so in this measuring cup, I'm using my Better Than Bouillon. I love this stuff for chicken and beef. They also have a veggie stock. If you're a vegetarian, you can use that instead. Just follow your directions on the side where it shows you how much, based on how much broth you need for your recipe. So then we're gonna add in a little bit of Worcestershire. I don't tend to measure very much because I just am kind of an eyeball type cook. The recipe also calls for some oregano. And we're gonna put in, about a teaspoon, pretty close. The other thing the recipe doesn't call for, but we love lemon, and I love lemon in anything. So I have a lemon pepper seasoning. We're just gonna add a little bit of this, probably about a half a teaspoon is plenty. And then we're gonna add in some tomato paste. So we're gonna squeeze. Now, tomato paste, you can buy it in the cans, but I never find you have to use the whole entire can unless you're making a big pot of chili or a big pot of spaghetti sauce. So I love these tubes of tomato paste. That way you can just get what you need and then just put the lid back on it, and it stays in your fridge, and it lasts for quite a while in there, so you don't have to worry about, okay, what do I do with this tomato paste? If you are in an area where you can't get these tubes of tomato paste, another little trick for tomato paste, if you have to buy it in the cans, is go to the dollar store, and I always keep a few of those plastic ice cube trays. They are fantastic for storing extra things. If you have a little bit of tomato paste left over, put some in those little cups, stick it in the freezer. When they're frozen, pop them out, throw them in a Ziploc bag, toss them in your freezer, and you're ready to go when you need more tomato paste later. It's also great for herbs. Put a little olive oil, put your fresh herbs in there, and then put it in the freezer, and you're ready to go when you need fresh herbs to add to soups, stews, sauces, whatever, if you just need a little bit of extra fresh herb flavor. All right, so this is gonna get dumped. I will show you what's in our crock pot. So here's our crock pot full of beef and mushrooms and carrots and onions. So we're gonna drop our beef or pour our stock over the top of this. Let's make sure we get all of this out. One thing that drives me crazy sometimes about TV chefs is they leave so much in their measuring cups. I'm like, why do that? That is all good flavor, and you need to keep that. All right, so we're just gonna give this a quick toss. It's gonna go on our crock pot, and it's gonna cook for about 7 to 8 hours, which put this in the crock pot in the morning. You can prep this right here. You can do this far at night. Put your crock pot in your refrigerator overnight with the lid on it, or just plastic wrap if you don't have a high enough shelf. Put this in the fridge overnight. That's just gonna make this taste even better because it's actually going to absorb the flavors overnight if you have time to do that. This is another meal prepping tip. You can put these things in your crock pot, let them soak overnight in your refrigerator, then put it in the crock pot before you head off to work or school or whatever in the morning. When you come home, this portion's ready to go. You don't have to make mashed potatoes from scratch. I do, just because I just love mashed potatoes and I like making them. But if you are somebody that just doesn't make mashed potatoes or you just don't have time, pick up some instant mashed potatoes. There's some great products out there. Make some instant mashed potatoes, put it over the top when you get home, put the lid back on it, go do something else with the kids for half an hour, come back, and it's done, ready to go. And you literally have everything in here. All you need is some good bread for this, and your meal is ready to go. I actually have some rolls left over from a couple nights ago, so we're gonna finish those off tonight with this shepherd's pie. So we are going to get this in the crock pot, and we will see you later today when it's done. Hey, so our shepherd's pie is all done. You can see the cheese is nice and melted. Our meat's nice and tender. I'm not a pea fan, so I didn't put peas in it, so I don't have to pick them out, but it does have corn and carrots in it. So we're just gonna scoop some of this up. See all the veggies in there. This is going to be tasty on a nice fall evening. And there we go. That's what it looks like. Stay tuned for the recipe.